Greetings and welcome back to Pseudo's journey through the Japanese air tech tree in War Thunder, a series of subpar guides made for unskilled free-to-play players by an unskilled free-to-play player. On this fine day among all days, we shall be taking a look at the first real bomber in the Japanese air tech tree, as the Ki-32 really can't be called an actual bomber, the Ki-21-la. The Ki-21-la can be found at BR 1.7 in rank 1 in the 5th line of the Japanese air tech tree. This plane will likely be your first real taste of what the rest of the Japanese bomber line will look like, and what playing bombers in War Thunder is really like. As you're probably going to spend a good amount of time playing bombers and hearing complaints about them from other players, I'd like to address that minor elephant in the room here. People in War Thunder hate bombers, as they are a low-skill, in air quotes, platform that people use to do nothing but grind out RP and SL and contribute nothing, again, air quotes, to the team. Sadly, this is true to a degree in War Thunder, as the only real mode we have is Team Deathmatch. This means that after very early tiers, bombers will have no power to influence a match's outcome. This is all rather backwards from real life, where up until recently, the only reason for fighters to exist was to protect or destroy bombers. However, in War Thunder, they're rather useless due to the horrendous game modes that we have. Not only that, but compared to their real-life counterparts, bombers in War Thunder are pathetic. They can be destroyed by very few shots from low-caliber guns, and single shots can tear them in half. In the end, this boils down to bombers being fun for absolutely nobody, even though they should be some of the most fun and influential pieces in play. But, as the people who dislike bombers would complain if bombers were buffed to be as powerful as they actually were, Gaijin won't do anything about it. They also refuse to make them influential to the outcome of the game, as again, the people who want the game to be a dogfighting only game would whine. So, all the bombers you play will be underpowered, be rather useless to the game, and everybody will hate you for playing them. This is sad, as I actually love bombers, and playing some of the later Japanese bombers like the G8N1 have been some of the most fun I've had in the entire game. Furthermore, they really are quite excellent at grinding both SL and RP. Never let anyone tell you off for playing bombers to grind SL. I do recommend not exclusively using them to grind RP in the tech tree, though. If you do that, you'll get to higher tiers and will become progressively more outmatched as you never really learned how to play the game. In my personal opinion, with how War Thunder currently operates, you should use bombers for entertainment and SL, but not RP grinding, as tempting as it may seem. Alright, now that we're done with the requisite bomber spiel, let's get to the actual performance of the Ki-21-la. The Ki-21-la has incredibly good flight performance for a bomber. It has a good turn rate and can pull its nose where you want to go fairly easily, much more easily than nearly any other bomber you'll find in the game. Not only that, but the engines are very decent for a plane of this rank, and the climb rate is nothing to scoff at either. You can frequently put your nose into a shallow climb and legitimately just outrun some fighters. This is one of those planes where it just feels far too light while flying it compared to what it looks like it should handle like. It legitimately feels like you're flying a heavy fighter sometimes. The Ki-21-la even has okay energy retention in a horizontal turn. Remember, this is still a full-sized bomber. You should not be fighting most other dedicated monoplane turn fighters, and you should especially not be dogfighting biplanes. However, your turn performance is good enough that it's likely to make it hard for enemies to hit shots on you, and you have just good enough energy retention that you won't be entirely drained after one maneuver. The vertical energy retention is still very bad. Never try going vertical in a fight. On the less positive side, this thing is both a massive target and also is incredibly flimsy. While your large bomber does have good flight performance for a bomber, it does this at the cost of any of the armor that most bombers would have. This is a bomber that is not meant to take hits. It is meant to be able to avoid them altogether. If you get a plane shooting at you with early biplane MGs, you might survive, however, you won't survive pretty much anything with more punch. The plane itself is actually fairly durable in a dive. Unlike many bombers, you can dive at a fairly steep angle with the Ki-21-la and have no ripping issues with the wings up until about 540 km/h IAS. You will still have to watch your speed as the wings will rip in very steep dives, and you won't be able to pull up in time once you see the alerts due to the control lockup. But it's still much better than many other bombers in this regard. You will come to appreciate this with bombers, as it makes getting back to the airfield after dropping your bomb load a much less painful task than it is for some other bombers. In fact, it can sometimes hold energy so well at medium to low speeds that it's hard to burn the requisite energy to land, but we'll get to that later. The mechanization of the Ki-21-la is fairly straightforward for a bomber. It has retractable gear which rip at about 380 km per hour, combat flaps that rip at about 250 km per hour, landing flaps, and takeoff flaps. You won't need the combat flaps very often, but they can be nice for avoiding gunfire from an enemy on your 6 by taking some sharper turns. The Ki-21-la does also have an internal bomb bay, which bombs are in for some of your loadouts. I find it always good to try to open the bomb bay doors a bit before reaching your target, as it does take a while to open and may mess up your drop if you forget. The takeoff and landing procedures are actually a little bit tricky. Takeoff is easy as it's a very light bomber with takeoff flaps. Put out your flaps and slam on the throttle. Landing is much harder. You remember earlier how I had so subtly hinted that the high energy retention might be an issue for landing? Well, here's why. The Ki-21-la has very weak brakes and requires a lot of runway to slow down. On paper, this should be easy as the Ki-21-la has very slow stall speeds, meaning that you should be able to get incredibly slow to the tune of 200 km per hour or below without falling out of the sky. However, your medium to low speed energy retention is actually good enough that it can be difficult to slow down with turns and maneuvers to actually drain that last bit of energy coming out of a dive. While diving down, I recommend pointing a bit before the runway when returning from bomb drops, so you have some time flying level on the deck to drain energy before touching down. It might not seem that important, but I have legitimately overshot the runway landing this plane before. It may take a little bit of practice to get used to, especially as a beginner. The Ki-21-la sadly starts the trend of most Japanese bombers in that it doesn't have a forward-facing offensive gun. This means that you will have to rely entirely on the defensive turrets to protect you. As they're not great guns, this is a very bad thing that you will struggle with throughout the rest of the Japanese bomber line. The Ki-21-la sports 4 defensive guns, 2 7.7mm Type 89 machine gun specials, no idea what makes them so special, and 2 7.7mm Te-1 machine guns. Both of these machine guns seem to have the same actual damage, so the main difference is the ammo belts and fire rate they get. The Te-1 fires at a rate of 950 shots per minute as opposed to the Type 89's 700 shots per minute, a quite noticeable improvement. The two Type 89s are the same Type 89s that you are used to and probably justifiably hate by now, but these ones are special. Both Type 89s are fired from the same gunner who faces rear on the top of the tail. One Te-1 gunner sits under the nose of the plane facing forwards, and one Te-1 gunner lies under the tail of the plane facing rearward. This means that your biggest gunner blind spots are just behind the tail, to the sides of the plane, directly below you, and above and to the front. If an enemy is seen directly behind you, try to lightly nose up or down to let either your 89s or rear Te-1 engage them, and turn the rudder so the 89s won't have trouble with your vertical stabilizer blocking the view. If they come from above and to the front or sides, just try to turn the plane and evade their fire, as there's nothing much you can do. You will notice how bad the dead zones are. If you decide to try and kill an enemy aircraft with this plane, I wish you luck. With blind spots like those, you'll need it. For belts, give your Type 89s the armored target belts, as it needs all the damage it can get. For the Te-1s, give them the universal belts, as the armor-piercing incendiary shells are the best you have for doing damage. These are weak gunners and your only defense, so you will need them as spruced up as you can get them. However, you'll only get 1 tracer per 4 shots with each of these belts, so your aim will need to be good. On to the arguably most important section about our bomber, the actual bomb loads it can take. A quick note, some ordnance gives higher rewards than others when attacking or destroying a base. Usually the more destructive power a bomb load has altogether, the lower the reward. This helps balance out the rewards gained by different bomb loads. The main stat I will be doing math with in the following section is the reward multiplier for bases seen on the bomb's stat card. While a decent estimate for the expected rewards is simply the estimated damage to bases times the reward multiplier for bases, this doesn't take into account the actual amount of bases that you'll typically get to actually destroy in a match. Just want to let you know that's where all these numbers will be coming from. The Ki-21-la can carry a very respectable bomb load for this rank in BR. It can carry 20 50 kg Army Type 94 GPHE bombs, 10 100 kg Army Type 94 GPHE bombs, 4 250 kg Army Type 92 GPHE bombs, or 2 500 kg Army Type 92 GPHE bombs. From my testing, it takes 6 50 kg bombs to destroy a base, meaning that you can destroy 3 bases. A full 20 50 kg bombs will do about 3/4 of an enemy airfield's health, which is quite impressive for this rank. There are 4 bombs outside the bomb bay, so you will drop those first, followed by a delay, then the rest unless you open the bomb bay door first. The drawback to the 50 kg bombs is that they have the lowest reward multiplier of only 8.6. For the 100 kg bombs, it takes 4 to take out a base, so you'll be able to destroy about 2.5 bases. Only 1 bomb is outside the bomb bay for this loadout. The 100 kg bombs get a full 10 times reward multiplier. For the 250 kg bombs, it takes all 4 to take out a base, so you'll only get 1 base. This is crazy in my opinion, as it somehow only takes 6 50 kg bombs to take out a base. The math ain't mathin'. It gets a full 10 times multiplier for the 250 kg bombs. For the 500 kg bombs, both combined will only take out 1 base. It also has the full 10 times reward multiplier. So, if we do some quick math, it looks like that the 50 kg bombs are the best, as they can take out 3 1/3 bases, which multiplied by a reward multiplier of 8.6 gives us a reward weight of about 28 2/3. This is better than the second best of which is the 100 kg bombs. With 2.5 bases and a 10 times multiplier, they give us a reward weight of about 25. However, I will typically take the 100 kg bombs on base bombing missions. This is because, while you are a faster bomber, the chances that you'll get 3 full bases at this rank is fairly low. Whenever you get 2.9 or less bases in a match, the 100 kg bombs will be more worthwhile in terms of reward. However, if you do find yourself getting 3+ bases a match, use the 500 kg. For the playstyle of the Ki-21-la, it can act either as a high-altitude base bomber or as decent medium-range CAS. While bringing it out into air battles, bases are really the only way to go. You go a bit faster than most other bombers, so use that to nab whichever bases you want. I can usually get 2 bases before the other bombers get to their targets. However, light dive bombers will still likely beat you to the bases. Due to the low durability and firepower of the Ki-21-la, I'd recommend staying high and avoiding all enemy contact for the match. This does limit your ability to destroy tank columns, as your bomb sight won't have high enough accuracy to destroy them at high altitudes. When enemies climb up to you, go into a shallow climb and fly away for them. Except for a few planes, if you start with a good height advantage, you'll be able to outrun most other enemy planes on your tail, and it might give your rear underside Tay-1 a chance to shoot them down. If the enemy plane starts with a decent height advantage, enact the standard Japanese air tech tree tactic of turning and praying while trying to dive away towards your team. While playing CAS, you're actually light enough that you can stay fast and avoid some enemy AA fire. Do remember that you are a fairly large, unarmored, flammable target, especially the flammable part. This means that if you get within the act, you're at range of the AA, you're toast. However, the 250 kg bombs have enough explosive filler that you can sacrifice some accuracy and still pop light and medium tanks. Stay at medium to low altitudes with the 250 kg bombs or the 500 kg if you aren't as accurate, and pick off stationary targets. One thing that is of utmost importance for CAS with this plane is that the bombs have a bit of a delay on their drop after button input. You will have to predict this and hit the button to drop the bomb about a second before the crosshair is over the enemy. After that, climb, turn around, and return to base while avoiding enemy contact. In air battles and ground battles alike, your main focus should be avoiding enemies as much as possible. The Ki-21-la should at least keep track of most enemy planes around them. Remember, you can outrun many planes in a straight line if you start with the height advantage, so the ones you'll need to watch out for are other planes with air spawns. The TBDs especially can be very hard to deal with if they choose to pick a fight with you. Just always try to keep good situational awareness and plan ahead in this plane. If you can do that, you can avoid nearly anything. The visuals of the Ki-21-la are not bad. It's a very standard looking early bomber with an elliptical shaped fuselage. Overall, very basic and decent looking early bomber. It gets 3 different paint jobs. The first is its default greenish-gray unicolor camo with only a few red and white accent stripes around it. The second camo is the objective best, which is a dark green and brown bicolor camouflage. This is very similar to the one found later on the G5N2 bomber and looks surprisingly good for a bomber skin in my opinion. The third skin is nearly identical to the default one, with the only noticeable difference being that there is a single small blue strip instead of the small red and white accents. I really think that the bicolor is the only good looking skin for this bomber. All of these skins are locked behind tons of ordnance dropped on the bases, so no GE is needed. The cockpit is the same unmodeled garbage that every other bomber in the game has. No disclaimer this time about me not being a good judge. It's just bad. Come on, Snail, I get that you're slow, but we've been waiting years for this. Absolutely pathetic cockpit. It does have fairly good visibility forwards and upwards, but that's about all it has going for it. The cost of the Ki-21-la is very standard for this tier. It costs 4,000 RP to research, 2,100 SL to purchase, and 600 SL to slot. This brings us up to the 1.7 standard of 2,700 SL to purchase and slot. The repair cost isn't too bad for a bomber, with a max of 429 SL in realistic battles and 301 SL in arcade battles. With the amount of SL this bomber can print, this is a very small investment to pay. On to the modifications. As you are a bomber, your highest priority should of course be the bombs. After that, focus on engine performance, then turn performance, then gunners. I recommend getting the 250 kg bombs, then the compressor, and then the 500 kg bombs. After that, go for the engine and engine injections for more speed. Then, get the cover, wing repair, and airframe for more turn performance. After that, get both the belts and new turrets for your gunners. Normally these would be higher priority for a bomber, but they're pretty useless on this one, upgraded or not. Then, get the rest of the modifications in whatever order you want. The cost of all the modifications is 4,430 RP and 2,690 SL. Well, that's a wrap on the Ki-21-la. For an early bomber, this one is actually decent, assuming that you don't have any enemies try to fight you. For a Japanese bomber, this one is a cut above most as respective battle rating in terms of bomb loads. My advice, don't expect such an effective bomb load on future bombers in the tech tree. It's going to be a while before any of their bomb loads are as effective as this one's again. I'd be honored to see you next week, where we'll be covering the first fighter that really starts off the Ki line, the Ki-27 Otsu. Whether you're there or not, I thank you for tuning in today.